Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin Time show. This is 3CR, Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. And a warning that this episode of Doin Time may contain audio images of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have died and discussion of deaths in custody. This is Marisa and I'll be taking you through until 5 o'clock this evening. First up on the show, we will bring you an interview with Yoorrook Deputy Chair and Commissioner Sue-Ann Hunter. And Sue-Ann is a proud Wurundjeri woman and she's from other lands as well. And I will let her tell us about that when she comes onto the show. As I said, she is a Deputy Chair and Commissioner for the Yoorrook Justice Commission. And I'm going to be speaking with Commissioner Hunter about the Land, Sky and Waters hearings, which began on the 25th of March. The Yoorrook Justice Commission is a royal commission and Victoria's formal truth-telling process. And it's the first of its kind in Australia. And I've spoken to Sue-Ann before and also Eleanor as well, who is the chair of the commission as well. So we've done quite a lot of work on the Doin Time show about this, and I wanted to revisit it today because it's just really important in the context of colonisation and truth-telling. Then after that, we will bring you another interview with Keiran, who's from the Black People's Union, and he will introduce himself fully when he comes on. We're going to be talking to him about camp sovereignty. He'll give a report back on May Day and other issues as well. So stay tuned for our first interview very soon with Commissioner Hunter.
National Reconciliation Week is almost here. Make an impact by signing up to Wear It Yellow and raise funds for Children's Ground between the 27th of May and the 3rd of June. A First Nations organisation led by First Nations people, Children's Ground is creating lasting change for future generations through a simple yet radical approach to education, health, culture, community and economic opportunity. Join the movement and show your support this National Reconciliation Week by wearing it yellow. Sign up your school, your workplace or team and raise vital funds that will help create a bright future for First Nations kids. Visit wearityellow.org.au to learn more and sign up today. Children's Ground is a 3CR supporter.
And in case people have just tuned in, this is the Doin Time show, 3CR, and it's approximately 4:03. And I'm going to be bringing you an interview now with Commissioner Sue-Ann Hunter, who I would really love to welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have you. And I think you've been on before, haven't you, with me?
I have been on when we were doing child protection and criminal justice system.
Yes, and that's still going on. There's a lot of things emerging from that, isn't it, which we can talk about on another show, or if you need to, you can mention some of that today if you like. But
no problem.
Sue-Ann, would you be able to just start off telling us what land you're from?
Yes, I'm Wurundjeri and Ngurai, Illum, Wurrung, so a Victorian traditional owner.
Beautiful. Sue-Ann, could you just speak more into the phone if you can? You're coming across a bit soft.
Okay, let me just...
That's better. Yeah.
How's that?
Oh, that's wonderful, beautiful.
Not a problem.
Now, Sue-Ann, could you just give us a general update on what Yoorrook is and where it's up to?
Yeah, so we're Australia's first formal truth-telling body into systemic injustices for First Peoples, though we are the only state doing that at the moment, so we're for all of Victoria. And we're looking at systemic injustice for the First Peoples from 1788 to current, so historical injustices and current injustices.
And how has that been for you to preside over all that?
So it was a 3-year anniversary of being appointed last week. So we originally only had 3 years, but we've got an extra year to do it. It's been a lot. It's lots going on. Our people have been amazing in coming forward and telling their truth. And, you know, what an honour to hear elders, young people, women, children, and as in the case of going into prisons and listening to men and women in there around their stories. It's and then of course holding government to account through hearings and recommendations. It's been a long process. We've still got a year to go, but absolutely amazing. And you know, Victoria is leading the way.
Indeed, and I'm hoping that we can also help our Indigenous brothers and sisters in prison as well with this.
Yeah, definitely. If we go back to I think I spoke to you about our Yoorrook for Justice, or it was around the hearing time. Mm-hmm. And so that's our reporting to Victoria's Child Protection and Criminal Justice System. And that was, I think it was about over a year ago.
Yep. And
then we got the response from the government just before our Land, Sky and Waters hearing started. And so we had 46 recommendations in that report. And the disappointment was that 4 out of the 46 recommendations were accepted in full and 24 were accepted in principle. You know, these recommendations, they're crucial to, given the over-incarceration of our people and our adults and our children, particularly ongoing deaths in custody, and there. You know, these recommendations weren't made lightly. So those recommendations go to the heart of addressing injustices for our First Peoples. Those reports are worth reading in full. You also see the past with the present and how the incarceration and death of our people look today, and they still continue today from the past.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the land, sky and sea, can you just tell us where we can find those reports?
Yeah, on our website. So it's www.yoorrook, .org.au. So it's Yoorrook Justice Commission. Those reports are on there, and all those hearings where we brought the state to the stand, plus Land, Sky and Waters, the current hearings we just finished, are all on there. So if you look in under hearings, under evidence, and go to hearings, you'll be able to see. Go to reports and you'll see our latest report from the Child Protection and Criminal Justice System as well.
It's lovely. It's really fantastic the way people have been able to come forward and tell their stories. It's really important.
Oh, it is really important, and to honour those their truths about what has happened, but also to be believed. I think people, we listen for a purpose, and we listen and hold space for purpose. And the fact that we can put these injustices on the record for First Peoples, and they will be there, forever, and they help form the recommendations for our reports. So the people might say it's just another Royal Commission with another load of recommendations, but these recommendations will be negotiated within the First Peoples Assembly, so they can pick them up and run with them through the treaty process.
Very important, and this is something that's very relevant. Now, I'm wondering if you could tell us, give an overview of the Land Injustice Inquiry and hearings, which just wrapped up.
Yeah, so we looked at, we're calling it Land Injustice, so we're looking at land, sky and waters. And although we had nearly 3 weeks of hearings, over the past, say, 8 months, we've looked into the impact of colonisation on our people relating to land, sky and waters. It was sometimes difficult to hear. So the evidence covers things like the evidence of massacres, of dispossession, laws that excluded us in the first place and still exclude us today, and they excluded us from wealth produced by the land. But I just want to also say we heard our stories of resistance and survival and ongoing connection to country. So I just want people to know that our strengths were picked up as well. And we began our inquiry on Wurundjeri country, where in 1834 Edward Henty took the land illegally and established the first permanent European settlement in Victoria. We took evidence on convincing ground where a massacre happened. So that very first opening was very powerful, and my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Lovett, he's a Wurundjeri man, so it was very, he led the Land, Sky and Waters inquiry, and it was very fitting to start at the very first place that one of the first massacres in this state took place, and to get the true history of Victoria on the record. All those evidence will make another report into the injustices related to land, sky and waters. We also, within this hearing, had the Minister, Natalie Hutchins, for First Peoples on the stand. We also had Jacinta Allen, the Premier, on the stand. It was very big. We have spoken to over 850 traditional owners in the state on issues relating to land, sky and waters. We had 29 information sessions, 18 traditional owner roundtables, and over 30 locations across the state. So it was pretty big. So I might give you some of the evidence that probably is really damning. The government ministers told us that $1.89 billion in revenue generated from the state from forestry and grazing licences in the 13-year period. There was $83 billion in revenue generated by the state from water. That's in the same time period. $287 billion of gold extracted from our land since 1851, and not a single cent was given to First Peoples directly. We're talking billions of dollars in our land taken and nothing given back. Just the mining, just the taking of our resources. We had Susanna Henty, a sixth-generation descendant of James Henty, give evidence about the family and the ongoing memorialisation of colonisers. That was very, if you want to go online, that was very an amazing experience to listen to from her point of view. We also had Dr. Bill Pascoe present evidence around the use of massacres during the 1830s, 40s and 50s in Western Victoria in particular. So he has a conservative figure of 49 massacres, killing over 1,000 Aboriginal people in Victoria during that period. And then heard evidence about the Aboriginal population in Victoria, which went from 60,000 to around 2,000, due largely to massacres and killings and disease brought by the colonisers, if I can say that. And the Premier's evidence, she admitted she was distressed and ashamed to learn about brutality involved in massacres, particularly on Judja-1 country, where she's from, in central Victoria. She did say that the Premier said the government was committed to ensuring Victoria's full history being gathered by workers better will be taught in schools. So that's a lot. That's just a little bit there that I've tried to highlight for you within that. We also, Minister Shing, we had her out at Robinvale and went on country for those hearings. We also took the Premier out to Coranturk as well to listen to about rejuvenation and awakening of culture and language. So there's just a snippet of it. It was a big 8 months.
So not only were there massacres that were wanting to wipe out First Nations people, but there was also evidence around economics, like around revenue that was stolen.
And it still goes today, you know. I mean, I always say they come from the land and we were in the way, which is, you know, which is completely right. That's what they wanted. Where does the money and the wealth come from the land? So in our next lot of hearings, we're actually going into economic development. It might sound weird that we're doing that and that,
no.
But we've also set it up to be able to do it separately. But it also shows you that the past is the present, right? So it's all connected, and that it continues. It just looks different now.
Definitely, and in fact, so there's upcoming hearings, isn't it now, into health, education, housing, and economic life, and it is connected, isn't it?
Oh, it so is. When we were planning, we've done lots of planning to these hearings, and then you actually sit there and go, oh, does that fit in housing or health? Or because it's that whole, you know, the social determinants of health, they all sort of fit in there. But they start on May 27th, so it's our seventh block of hearings. We'll get, as we get closer to the date, we'll be able to put the names of everybody up who's coming. But the witnesses will include, of course, First Peoples of Victoria, government ministers, senior bureaucrats, university chancellors. So it's just a range, but we will have the ministers, the relevant ministers on the stand, and bureaucrats.
It's pretty important, isn't it? So can you tell us a little bit about where are these hearings going to be held, and describe a little bit about how people can give evidence?
Yeah, so if you go onto our website, you'll be able to see where you can click on a link and it'll tell you where submissions is, and it'll tell you how to do it yourself, or you can contact us and the details are on the website, and we can have troop receivers assist you in making submissions. It's also at our Collingwood office, and I'm stretching it here. I think it's Wellington Parade in Collingwood, 45, I think. I may be wrong. I've just had a blank of our address. But that'll be on our website, and also about coming forward, and you can come and sit in the hearing. There might be something within the hearing that you find you want to listen to, or a minister coming up. But you can also we stream them online as well through our website, and I think through Facebook as well. So if people really want to watch those, you can also go back, and then you know, just given your show, you can also look at the criminal justice and child protection hearings as well.
I'm so glad that you've mentioned that. I mean, it's going to be pretty harrowing evidence, isn't it? Because health is something, for example, that's pretty historically pretty disturbing, what happened to Aboriginal people, particularly with mothers giving birth and
and it still happens today. The removal of, I mean, we've been through that in child protection, but we've also got the racism in hospitals and the racism that permeates, you know, the health system in particular. We are having accountability hearings, so we're calling back, you know, the child protection and criminal justice system, but you can't look at health in a silo. It needs to also, and a few people have asked me this, health, justice health will be a part of that as well. We will talk about it in these hearings, but it'll also be part of the accountability hearings, because we want to know where everybody's at from those other hearings and that they've moved forward, which I think is pretty powerful to bring people back to the stand after they've made promises and apologies previously.
Yeah. And how can listeners take part by making a submission. Could you just talk a little bit more about that?
So making a submission can be in various forms, and I say to people it doesn't need to be this big thing that takes you hours to do. You can do it in dot form. It can be in poems, song. You might have artwork. You might have an artefact. You might have photos. You might even just have some old documents that you want to submit, or even old video where it tells a story of what you want to talk about. And you can upload those to the website. We have Indigenous data sovereignty principles, so you still own your story and you tell us how you use it. And there's no other commission that's actually had that ability to do that. If you, on our website, you'll see a phone number. You can also call and get assistance however you like to be able to do the submission.
I'm so happy that you were able to come on, Sue-Ann, and I wonder if there's anything else that you want to say.
Yeah, I will tell you that a truth receiver can help you complete the submission, but we also have free and independent legal advice if you're worried about that, and we do have social and emotional wellbeing support. So I'll just reiterate, our website is Yoorrook, YOORROOK.org.au. We do have an end date, so if you want to, make a submission, please do so sooner, probably rather than later. And just going into these hearings, we really want to look at if people are interested, of course, of getting online and watching. Everyone deserves a safe home, care when you're sick, a quality education, and we know that for First People these basics are out of reach. So these hearings are better to seek to understand why Victoria's health, education, housing systems perpetuate this disadvantage. And we need to remember these are the first time we've had government on the stand and First People that were able to question them. So we're Vic-led, is in Vic traditional owner-led by 3 First Peoples, including myself, another Palawa woman and a former judge is on our commission as well. But I just encourage people, don't be a bystander and don't let this be something that happens to other people. Be part of it. And if even if you mention to other people to get online and have a look, this is for the state, this is for everybody, and this is about transformation of the state, because I think if you get it right for First Peoples, the most vulnerable, you get it right for everybody.
Yeah, look, I'm just really amazed at how there's been so much reaching out to communities. It's been really great. I'm hoping that it's so hard because there are so many different language groups, aren't there, and different clans. And I'm hoping they're all included.
Can I just say that I think Auntie Vicky Cousins called it linguicide, the loss of language. And look, we have a lot of evidence around that, but we also have the evidence from the state where they don't invest in probably what Mandy Nicholson calls it, awakening of a language, because it's just gone to sleep. It's not that it's lost, it's just asleep and we need to reawaken it. And we that's part of the land injustice with language. And so you'll see more evidence that can back up our recommendations around language. At this point, not 100% sure because I can't really talk about the recommendations before we've actually made them. But there definitely will be something around language, because that forms part of your identity, who you are, connects us to the country, the culture, the land, and, to take that away was pretty brutal.
I've so enjoyed talking to you. It's been really fantastic, and I'm hoping that I can maybe get along to some of these hearings in May.
Oh, that would be great. It'd be lovely to see you there.
Tell me again when they start.
So they start the 27th, which is next week, if I'm correct. Am I correct? Is that next week?
Yes.
Yes, we sort of so under the pump. I've lost my weeks, but yeah, we start next week. And it's in Collingwood at our offices in Wellington Street in Collingwood. But look up our website. Everything's on there.
Yep.
And it'll tell you where you can go. Anybody can come in and watch our hearings or listen to them. And for those who can't make it in, please, they're online, live streamed, but they're also in our archives online. If you want to look up the hearings under evidence, you'll find them there as well.
I really sincerely hope that when all of these hearings are over, that the government will listen.
Yeah, well, the bonus is we have the first People's Assembly.
That's right.
And so they will start. So these aren't recommendations that are just going to sit there. These are recommendations that will be taken up by them and negotiated further in treaties.
Sue-Ann, thank you so much for coming onto the program, and I hope that you didn't mind that I extended the interview. I just felt that this was really important material that had to come out.
No, not a problem at all. I think I've got so much to say, I'm trying to condense it into 3 years of stuff short and trying to get the impact for people. But look, I can't encourage you enough to get on the website, have a look, encourage other people to go and have a look. And, we'd love to hear your evidence, so please make a submission.
Absolutely, and please come back on soon and we can do another update soon. That would be lovely.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much for letting us spread the word about Yoorrook.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
3CR. Public transport's great.
What's not great is that unless you've got a radio with you, you can't listen to 3CR when you're on it.
Until now, the Community Radio Plus app lets you listen to us wherever you are.
Get on board and search Community Radio Plus wherever you get your apps.
Time's on my mind when I had you by my side. Am I thinking loud? Do I want you around? This country's black future is a fire with the right season, that burning school fire.
throughout the month of June, we'll be asking you, our valued listener, to support fierce, independent and community-driven media during our radiothon.
We'll be taking donations online, over the phone and in the station to help keep 3CR going for another year.
The 3CR Radiothon kicks off in June.
To donate, go to 3cr.org.au.
Call the station on 03 9419 8377.
Or drop in at 21 Smith Street, Fitzroy during business hours.
3CR, sound on for solidarity.
And this is 3CR Community Radio Doin Time show, and it's approximately 4:30. And you just heard an interview with Commissioner Hunter, who was talking about the Yoorrook Commission and some hearings that have just wrapped up in regards to land and sky, and it's Victoria's first formal truth-telling process. Coming up is we're going to be speaking with activist and First Nations activist, and also from the Black People's Union, we're going to be speaking with Keiran. Hello, Keiran. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Marisa. How you going?
It's been one of those days, I think. The weather's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we've got so much to talk about, as usual. I'm wondering if you could just tell us, in case new listeners have just tuned in, what land you're from and what is the Black People's Union?
Yeah, no worries. So I'm a traditional owner from Wani-Wandian country, which is in the Yuin Nation. The Yuin Nation's on the south coast of New South Wales, from around the Ngurai area south to the Victorian border. And the Black People's Union is a First Nations trade union as well as revolutionary organisation. We do a whole range of stuff, really. We run a lot of education programs, do a lot of rallies and panels and workshops. We also run a community kitchen down in Dandenong every Saturday, which provides food to the vulnerable in the community. We do a lot of support around pickets and strike actions, and a lot of direct action against the colony itself. And just try and do what we can to bring about the revolution.
Absolutely, and in fact, I was just talking to Commissioner Hunter about the Land, Sky and Waters hearings that just wrapped up in the Yoorrook Commission. There's just so much. We're talking about massacres and about how revenue was stolen.
Yeah, it's such an atrocious history this nation has, right across this continent.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing around Camp Sovereignty?
Yeah, so Camp Sovereignty, for those who haven't heard of it yet, it's a bit of a protest camp down at the King's Domain. It was set up on Invasion Day this year by Uncle Robbie and a few other First Nations people, as well as the BPU. We went down there to, just support Uncle Robbie and support the local mob with setting it up. It's a protest camp looking to get back some of the land down in the King's Domain, given back to the traditional owners down here, so that there's somewhere where they can set up a political and cultural centre, somewhere to, run cultural programs, do a bit of cultural healing, as well as for our mob to come together and to organise. So, it's been down there for, I'm not sure what they were up to now, but, since 26th of January. So it's been going strong. Hopefully it'll, achieve its goal. Originally, there was a Camp Sovereignty set up in the same spot back in 2006 by Uncle Robbie and a whole bunch of other older Aboriginal activists. That one lasted 60 days, I believe, the first one. We're, well past that mark now. And Uncle Robbie's currently in negotiations with the council just around, where to next.
Fantastic. No, that's always good. I believe Uncle Robbie has a few shows at 3CR as well, one of them being Fire First, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's close to your heart, Keiran? What do you want to talk about today? What's been going on?
Look, there's a whole bunch going on, really. I suppose, what we've been doing lately in the BPU is just really trying to build up our solidarity with other oppressed and exploited people, not just on this continent, but right across the world. So actually, as a part of that, we're currently organising a SNAP protest for this Thursday afternoon, 6 o'clock down at State Library, in solidarity with our Kanak brothers and sisters over in Kanaki, over in New Caledonia, who are currently, in a process of a bit of civil unrest against the French colonial government there.
Wow, okay. Well, and where is that being held again? The State Library?
That'll be, the steps of State Library, 6 o'clock this Thursday afternoon. There'll be speakers there from a range of different backgrounds, all talking about our shared struggle and how we really need to come together and stand together, especially at a time like this where there's so much turbulence going on in the world. We've got everything that's happening over in Palestine right now with, the genocide over there that Israel's committing. We've got all the stuff that's happening in West Papua, all the invasion and genocide there that Indonesia's committing. We've also got, all this massive resource extraction happening right across the African continent, but in particular, places like Congo and Sudan, where there's tens of millions of people who are now displaced, and, they've got children out there digging up all sorts of precious metals for, us over here in the West and our luxury items like our phones and our laptops and whatnot.
Oh,
so,
wow.
it's a really turbulent time at the moment in the world. But, it's in a way, there has been some silver linings to it all. As I was saying, there's been a lot of solidarity and a lot of inter-struggle connection coming out as a result of everything that's going on. And it's good to see because it's what we really need, Separated, we're all fighting these 101 individual little battles, but we've all got the same enemy at the end of the day. And, united together, we're a lot stronger than our common enemy.
And this is something that I've always tried to talk about on the show, and that is that it's really important. That's why I always invite everybody from marginalised and diverse communities to speak on the Doin Time show in a safe environment about things that concern them. And with this show, I always take it back to colonisation and the settler state, because that's really important. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, no, it's settler colonialism is ultimately what underpins most of the exploitation and oppression that we see right across the world. Most of the problems that exist, including capitalism itself, exist only because of settler colonialism. It's what we call in Marxism, it's the primary contradiction, that underpins everything in the society, all the exploitation and oppression and inequality that we see. It has happened here. It's happened, it's happening right now in West Papua. It's happening right across the world. And, this is part of what we're going to be talking about on Thursday afternoon as well, the relationship between France's settler colonialism and New Caledonia, or, Kanaki, as it's traditionally known. France went and colonised there in the middle of the 1800s, and ever since they've had massive nickel mining operations. Kanaki is actually home to something like a quarter of the world's nickel. These couple of little islands have a quarter of all of the nickel in the entire world. So that's why France is really trying to keep its stranglehold over this island and trying to prevent them, liberating themselves and being their own independent nation, because then they would lose all these natural resources. And ultimately, that's what colonialism really comes down to at the end of the day. It's all about land and the natural resources that are on those lands, including oftentimes the indigenous people of those lands who have been used, for slave labour and cheap labour right across the world.
And that brings me to my next point in regards to May Day. Can you just give a little bit of a report back on May Day? I know I did an interview, it might have been a couple of years ago now, about stolen wages with you.
Yeah. May Day, we had a May Day rally down here in Melbourne at the State Library. It was organised by a coalition of different organisations. It wasn't just the BPU. We had people there from the African Solidarity Collective, the Asian Australian Workers Link, renegade activists, a few other orgs and groups there as well as people who aren't necessarily part of any orgs, but are great activists for their communities. Like we had some great West Papuan activists down there, and some other activists from other exploited and oppressed communities down there. The focus this year was on Western imperialism and on settler colonialism. We decided, to focus more on that this year because of everything that's happening right now around the world. as I was saying before, in Palestine, Africa, West Papua and elsewhere. We had a lot of speakers from these different communities get up and, talk about the same shared struggle that we all face and, what we need to do to overcome this struggle as the workers. It was pretty good event. We organised with a similar coalition last year for the May Day, and the one this year was, I reckon, the turnout was 2 or 3 times as big as it was last year. So, it's good to see that it's growing every year as well, and more people are getting involved in it and getting active and getting political, which is, what really needs to happen at the end of the day. Politics is something that impacts everybody in every aspect of our lives. And until people start to get political and start to participate in those politics, they're not going to have any say over their life.
I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, Keiran, and I don't know if you can comment on this, but I've just noticed that although unions are strong, I don't think that trade unions are as strong as what they used to be. It feels like it's going into a bit of a decline.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a history around all that. It goes back, I suppose, to the late 80s and the 90s when we look at the accords that were brought in. There was a bunch of accords that Labor negotiated with the trade unions at the time to bring in that really heavily restricted what unions could and couldn't do in regards to, stuff like strikes and union action in the workplace. It meant there was a whole lot of fines now involved if there was, strikes that were called that weren't, given certain consent or given certain permission, as well as, other actions that might be called that don't have the thumbs up of approval from the government and from the workplace that they're trying to strike against. A bit oxymoronic. It was supposed to, the whole reason, apparently, that, these accords were being brought in was to make negotiation easier with workplaces and with bosses. Unfortunately, though, when we actually look at the results of these accords and the way that things have happened since, we see that they've really let down and failed the working class. They didn't do what they promised to do for us, the workers. All they've done is fatten the pockets of the bosses and make it harder for us to have any sort of industrial action here in this country. It's also meant a massive decline in union membership. Back at the start of the Accords, I think something like 50 or 60% of a workplace was unionised. These days, it's likely to be 10%. So, it's really impacted union membership, and it's kind of created this whole catch-22 as well. At the end of the day, a union is its membership. At the end of the day, without the members being there and without the members committing to actions and contributing to the union itself, the union's powerless. They can't do anything. But at the same time, when unions have been kneecapped by the government, there's not a whole lot they can really do anyways. So it does, drive people away from union membership. And it really creates this spiral where unions become weaker, and as they become weaker, the government becomes stronger and bosses become stronger. And as the government and bosses become stronger, less people want to join the unions, and the unions become weaker even more.
That's exactly right, and that's when fascism starts to creep in.
Yeah, definitely. And, we're seeing a massive rise in that lately as well. The right wing and the fascists are really mobilising right now, right across the country. But,
it is horrible,
some of the
Keiran.
groups, yeah.
Why is that, do you think?
Look, I think there's a whole lot of reasons. It would take hours to go through it all. But I think really people are just disheartened. They're disheartened with the so-called left that they see in government, which isn't actually a left. I'm talking about Labor and the Greens here. They're not actually left, but people see these and, think that they represent the left, and then they see how even these so-called left-wing parties sell out the workers and sell out the people. So they become disheartened with revolutionary politics and left-wing politics. And as a result, the right-wing, always being parasitic and ready to swoop in as opportunists they are, they can really seize a lot of the apolitical masses. And, a great example of this is COVID. Now, don't get me wrong, anyone who's listening, I'm not a cooker and I'm not anti-vaccine or anything like that.
No.
But, we've got to admit that at the end of the day, the way the Labor government handled the pandemic wasn't great. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have had lockdowns or we shouldn't have had vaccines or anything like that, but the way that was handled and the way that the lockdowns were rolled out really threw off the working class. The working class was frustrated, and they were understandably frustrated and confused because of everything that was happening. And that was an opportunity for the left to really capitalise and capture the working class and those apolitical masses. But instead, so many people on the left turned into the police themselves and started criticising everyone and calling everyone a cooker and a Nazi and whatever else if they weren't vaccinated, or if they questioned the lockdowns, or if they had an issue with how everything was being rolled out. So as a result, these people were naturally driven to the right, who was voicing their frustrations and voicing their confusion against the lockdowns and stuff. So they naturally drifted over to the right, and it was a massive lost opportunity for the left in this country.
Well, yeah, it was a lost opportunity for people. It created disunity.
Yeah, it really did.
It should have been. I did lots of interviews during the pandemic, for example, about First Nations people being excluded from vaccination campaigns. There was a lot of negative messaging.
Yeah, and even the way they handled some of our medical stuff. I remember back earlier on during the pandemic, we had all these regional First Nations communities who were screaming out for extra medical supplies from the government, and the government gave them extra body bags.
That's exactly right. And so there really was an inequality, and a lot of people were also homeless and were being fined because they were sleeping where they could.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you mean, though. I mean, there should have been more positive messaging by the government about vaccines, and a lot of people were actually arrested and imprisoned as well, and there certainly wasn't enough unity either.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. There's a whole list of similar sort of things going back decades now that have, in my opinion and in my analysis, have really driven the working class away from wanting to engage in politics in the first place. Or if they do, they're very easily captured by a lot of the right-wing slogans that aren't necessarily anything substantial themselves and aren't anything beneficial for the working class, but easy to capture people who don't know better.
How do you see the Black People's Union helping with all that? What role can the BPU play in bringing people together?
Yeah, so, part of what we really focus on and really try and do is a lot of political education, trying to educate people about different political systems and how they operate, as well as political history, not just here, but, right across the world, and what the outcomes of different history have been and what we can learn from these different lessons, so that people are more armed and equipped with the knowledge to understand what's going on around them and to be able to actually contribute to change in a positive way. So, we run a lot of classes online. These are for free. They're not just for our members. They're for anybody who wants to come along. Don't have to register or sign up or anything like that. We just post the links up on our social media, and people come along to them, all online and stuff like that. We also chuck a lot of stuff up on our YouTube channel, as well as our social media, and, try and get out into stuff like unis and to high schools, as well as protests and, different workshops and training camps and whatever else, to just try and, spread our messaging, and, try and educate people on what's really going on here in this continent, and what we can do to impact change.
Absolutely. And you were mentioning also there was a kitchen that you run every week, is that right, in Dandenong?
Yeah. So the BPU runs a community kitchen down in Dandenong, at the front of Dandenong Plaza, from 3 p.m. to about 5:30 each Saturday afternoon. Just hands out, free hot meals to whoever needs them. Quite often there'll be some toiletries and clothes and other supplies and stuff as well that we have to hand out to people. But yeah, we also, try and, not in a way where preachy or anything like that, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of religious places that do similar sort of services really try and push their messaging and stuff. We don't try and do that to patrons. If people are there for food, they're there for food. They don't have to, listen to our propaganda, to put it, bluntly. But, we do also try and engage people in the community, though, not necessarily people who need the support we're offering, but, passers-by and other people who might be interested in what we're doing, try and have the discussions with them about why we have to have this service in the first place, and why this government allows poverty and allows homelessness to exist in the first place.
Exactly. Keiran, thank you so much for coming onto the program. It's been great having you. I thought of you yesterday, actually, and I thought I'm going to invite you on because we haven't had you on for a while, and it's always great to have you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's always good to catch up.
Thanks so much. You take care.
You too. See ya.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Get ready to add your support during our annual radiothon.
Sound On for Solidarity.
3CR Radiothon Fundraiser, June 2024.
To donate, call 039419 8377 or donate online at 3cr.org.au.
3CR Radiothon 2024.
Sound On for Solidarity.
Environmental Film Festival Australia invites you to ACME on Saturday the 1st of June for EFA Presents Homegrown, a one-day exploration of Australia on screen. Designed to spark conversation and demand action with documentaries, short films and more. Experience distinctly Australian perspectives on the environment, connection to country and the fight to protect our home. Tickets on sale now at effa.org.au. The Environmental Film Festival Australia is a 3CR supporter.
As part of Mojo Festival of Arts 2024 program, Schizzy Inc. presents 2 shows for World Schizophrenia Day in Carlton in the last 2 Saturdays of May. The Performing Arts Gala on the 18th from 2 p.m. at the Trades Hall Fringe Common Room is a rebellious foray through mental health featuring theatre, cabaret, spoken word and music. Then, on the 25th, the mental health system is under review with the Comedy Treatment Order comedy show at the Motley Bar House from 3 p.m. Schizzy Inc. for World Schizophrenia Day, celebration parties of lived experience pride. Come along on the last 2 Saturdays of May. Everyone's invited. For more information on performers and ticketing, head to schizzy.org, SCHIZY.org. Mojo Festival of the Arts is a 3CR supporter.
And you're back with the Doin Time show, 3CR, and we're nearing the end of our show. It's approximately 4:52, and I wanted to just thank our guests, Commissioner Hunter and also Keiran, both First Nations people, who gave us a lot of really important information about what's happening, not just with First Nations people, but also with solidarity struggles as well. Just wanted to remind listeners again that Radiothon is coming up for 3CR, and the Doin Time show's target is $950, and we will be having our Radiothon show on the 10th of June this year, 2024. So all donations are tax deductible. Donate to the Doin Time show and all shows at 3CR. Just wanted to read out some information. It's really just a summary of the hearings that are coming up with the Yoorrook Commission. So the Yoorrook 7th round of hearings will begin on Monday, the 27th of May, 2024, with a focus on systemic injustice experienced by First Peoples in Victoria in relation to health, education, housing and economic life. The hearings will run over 4 weeks until mid-June. Witnesses will include First Peoples, Victorian government ministers and senior bureaucrats, including Treasurer Tim Pallas, and Deputy Premier and Minister for Education Ben Carroll. So they list a number of ministers here, but it's not just about the ministers, of course. It's going to be really more about people hearing evidence or giving, First Nations people giving evidence and bearing witness to what's happened with housing and education and health. Now, the hearings will generally run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and they're open for the public and media to attend and will be live streamed via the Yoorrook website. And so you can look that up, and also go, like if you want to go in person, you can actually go to Wellington Street, Collingwood. Have a look on the website; it's all there. Over 8 months of dedicated inquiry, Yoorrook has gathered an enormous body of evidence about the injustice experienced by First Peoples in relation to land and water and what needs to be done to address it. Evidence has come from round tables and yarns with over 850 traditional owners across the state, submissions, site visits, notices to produce, and 3 weeks of public hearings with First Peoples, the Premier, government ministers, academics and bureaucrats. Hearings were held in Collingwood, Portland, Robinvale, as Commissioner Hunter said, and on land that was formerly part of the Keiran Mission. Throughout, commissions consistently heard evidence about wrongdoing and loss, but also the story of First Peoples' ongoing resistance, survival and strength. And I wanted to just do a little bit of a recap of the interview that we did with Commissioner Hunter, because it's terribly important to be able to have people go along to those hearings, whether it's actually just live streaming. It will be live streaming on the website and you can listen through that, or you can go to 54 Wellington Street, Collingwood. It's approximately 4:56 and we're going to be going out now in about a minute with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella by the Rumpy Band. Stay safe and see you next Monday and every Monday for the Doin Time show, 4 to 5. Thanks. Bye.